Hey, before we get started today, I just want to let you know that there were some video issues with the Zoom call. Zoom does a great job of allowing people to work remote, as I'm sure a lot of people have learned over the past year, but it's not perfect. So eventually, I would love to have an in person studio or be able to travel to certain guests for the podcast now that things are opening up. But right now, we're just going to have an audio only podcast. So after the intro, um, you'll just hear our interview and discussion. So thanks and enjoy. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Mitten Backstage. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy to be chatting today with Danielle Cosby. She is a wonderful singer, born and raised in Michigan, who is currently living in Nashville. I catch up with her on the recent move, some of the artistic projects she's been involved in, and we chat about her upcoming single that drops this weekend. If you like today's episode and you want to support my podcasting efforts, you can head on over to patreon.com/Tracy Snedeker. There you can contribute at different tier levels to get access to early episodes of the podcasts that I produce, as well as exclusive merch, a monthly mailed newsletter, and more. You can also go to DutcherSnedeker.com to get updates on everything else that I'm currently up to on the internet. And if you feel compelled, feel free to follow, subscribe, share, whatever platform you happen to be watching or listening to this episode on. Interact with it. It helps me out, and it shows your support for the podcast. All right, let's get right into the conversation with Danielle Cosby. Always good. I don't need that open. And that's it. All right. Hi.
Hi. Oh, it's so good to see your face. How are you?
Good. Good. I'm in the thick of, I don't know, wedding summer. So
Oh, you don't gotta tell me. I know.
yeah, it seems like it's just strapped from like the combination of like everyone who rescheduled with the people who scheduled for this year, and then the last minute like, oh, we can do a wedding. Can you book it 3 months from now?
Yes, it is crazy town. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of different moving parts for sure. And everyone is just running around like chickens with their heads cut off, hoping that we make it to the end of this season so that we can actually be prepared for next season now. Because really, no one, I mean, still, even as of like May, no one this year really knew how successful we were going to be able to be this season. So it's just been kind of like a waiting game. But here
Yeah,
we are. We're doing it. We're doing the best we can.
right.
And yeah.
Yeah, how's the transition to Nashville been? I mean, I know it's been a few months, but it's probably been
Yeah, it's
interesting.
actually it'll be a year in next week, actually.
Oh,
I moved
wow.
here last July. I know, crazy. Um, it's going well. It's still weird. It's still a little bit hard to actually get transitioned into the music world down here because I'm still like my focus is still in Michigan with BlueWater Kings and stuff.
Right.
But it's happening slowly but surely. It's happening, and now that the world is opening up and is kind of back to normal, which it has been here in Tennessee, it's been pretty much normal for a while. Um, but it's an interesting transition, but it's going great. I love it here. It's definitely where I'm meant to be at this time in my life. So yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling that you made the move and you're like, I'm not crazy. This is actually what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean the jury's still out. I probably am crazy, but for other reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been wow, it's already been a year. So you've mainly just spent a year kind of looking at Nashville through your house window and being like, someday I'll go to this spot or this spot or
Yeah, it's been a lot of time in uh a lot of alone time, which has been good. It's been really good. A lot of just kind of hanging out at home with the animals in the backyard and a lot of chance to just kind of like catch up just with yourself, which has been definitely it was definitely needed. I think we all needed a little time to catch up with ourselves. And
yeah,
yeah,
I definitely felt like last year was the like it wasn't something as drastic as like I can't do music anymore. It was more like I need to reevaluate like how my weeks are conducted so that I can keep
mhm,
doing like keep keep doing more, but like more things that are what I want to focus on, and trying to get out of that like the post academia mindset of like you just keep saying yes and then
yeah.
you'll get all the opportunities.
Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of people have uh I mean, COVID was great for that, for giving people a chance to kind of recalibrate and figure out like, you know what, I don't really want to go back to normal, whatever normal was before. I don't want to go back to that. I think musicians especially have been feeling that, or I mean people any with any job really, just kind of being able to take a second and be like, okay, these are the things that I want to carry forward into the new world, and these are the things that I don't want anything to do with anymore, and giving us a chance to actually like do that, where otherwise we don't ever have a chance to do that. It's just go, 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 go. And hopefully more people coming out of this are going to be able to be happier. I know it's been a tough year for everyone, mental health wise and everything, but hopefully this has given us the tools to really pay attention and take forth with us the things that actually give our lives meaning and our worth.
Yeah, I definitely felt like the in terms of the social aspect, it the people joke that like when you get into your later 20s going into your 30s, it's like all right, you're down to like six people that you or however small your friend circle is. But
Mhm.
it was interesting seeing like who the like just the different outreach from different parts of the people I surround myself with, whether it was like
Yeah.
people reaching out with a phone call or a text or getting some sort of like hey, just checking it, like people
Mhm.
understanding that everyone's going through something and they want to see everyone
Yeah.
supported.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of friendships were tested, and um now we know the things and the people that are actually good for our lives.
Yeah, to be able to like kind of just have that feeling coming out of everything like okay, the I definitely know I have support. Now I can step more confidently back into the public
Sure.
and trying to do stuff. I
Mhm.
definitely felt that on the residency gigs that I had at the listing room. That was
Mhm.
like an unexpected like, hey, can you do Valentine's weekend? Hey, can you do the next weekend? Hey, can you do a trio for March? How about April? How about May? And
Yeah.
it just it kept going, and it was nice to see like people coming out to support that, or just feeling like oh yeah, I'd had a year off gigs, but that doesn't mean I completely forgot how to do what I do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's probably an opportunity that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have been able to commit to if things were normal, whatever that means. You know, these types of little side gigs, residency gigs, doing virtual things, people were actually able to choose, like, I'm doing this because I want to, not for money, not for exposure or whatever. It's just like it's being able to choose, which gives gives meaning behind your music again, which I think a lot of us lost for a while.
Yeah, it definitely felt like, the having a year, even with like not being able to do a lot, I still, Earth Radio still put out a record, and we had, we were
Yep.
working on stuff there, and Blushing Monk put out a record at the top of the year, and I was on a lot of records that were recorded last year. um,
Yeah.
and it was interesting to see like the people who, because I obviously I don't blame anyone who just was like, I disappeared and shrunk into a tiny hole, and now I'm slowly emerging.
Yeah.
And then to also see the people who are like, all right, even if we can't get paid for it, or if we're having trouble getting the pay we want from it, like we're gonna figure out how to collaborate, or support
Hmm.
musicians and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We're doing music because we need to, because it feeds our souls, not because it's feeding our bank accounts,
Yeah.
which we've all, I mean, especially, those of us who like music as our full-time job, you kind of forget that like a lot of what we do is for a paycheck, and you kind of forget why you got into this in the first place and why we want to be doing music in the first place. So it was good for, like I said, just kind of feeding our souls in that way.
Yeah, and really like, you know, I I was uh glad to like have music as like, this continuing constant, even with like, so many instances of like, oh yeah, my friend moved back to Michigan because they couldn't afford to live in this big music scene, or the company they worked for
Mm,
dissolved, or the band they were
yeah.
in broke up, or just so many like moments of like, like everyone's going through it. um
Yeah.
but yeah, I think there at least, I'm hopeful it continues past the summer, but at least this summer it seems like a lot of audiences are very vocal about like
Hmm.
they wanted live music and they missed it, and they enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
that at like,
Yeah. It was a reset.
yeah, I've seen that on a lot of BlueWater Kings weddings, because usually it's like, people are happy that there's music in general, but there's definitely like a lot of people who are, this is my first show back since, everything
Yeah.
shut down. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a very special vibe that we've got going on right now. People are so appreciative that this can even be happening, and they're just so happy to be together and so happy to have great music, and they want to express that. And that's been very special. Even last year, I mean, the very few weddings that we could do last year, there I really was enjoying the whole micro wedding thing that people were doing, where it's like, forget the whole plan. We're having 20 of our closest family and friends. And I even started telling my clients this, who were kind of like freaking out about having to cut down their guest list, like, you know what, from the experiences that I've had, this creates such a special vibe when it's only the people that you really care about the most that are sharing your special day with you. You don't have to worry about these people that you're not going to see again for 10 years, who you
right.
haven't seen in 10 years. You don't have to feed 300 people. It's just like it's getting back to bare bones and what really matters. And it's been really cool to see that, and really cool to be a part of that, and the musicians that can be there. It's been, like I said, just a really special vibe that a lot of people, a lot of clients, even, they might have had their little micro wedding and then we're planning on having the full reception the following year or when things open back up. And a lot of people came back and said, you know what? I am fully happy with what we had. We don't even want to have a big party again next year. So I think it's been really a good reset for everyone to just kind of like take a breath and think about the things that really matter
Yeah.
and only pay attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like people they're like everyone had this shared experience, everyone learned something
Mhm.
about themselves or the people they surround
Yeah.
themselves with, or I've seen a lot of people who even just the simple I mean, you moved, but that was, I don't know how far. Well, I guess, yeah, it's been a year. You moved a few months into quarantine,
In
so
the
it's like,
middle of a pandemic.
yeah.
Yep. I
and
sure did.
and it's like I've seen a ton of people who they wrote it out the last year at whatever house, and now they're like, I have to move somewhere. I have to, change of scenery, change of
Yeah,
routines. Like something's got to be different.
exactly. Yeah, and for me it was like, okay, well either I could be quarantined in Michigan or I could be quarantined in Tennessee. And uh, for me it was really important. There was a lot of other toxic things happening in my life that it was just really, I think if I would have stayed, it would have been detrimental. So I think I got out at the right time, which everyone's like, why did you move in the middle of quarantine? Like, how does that work? And I'm like, you know what? It's working. We're making it work. And it was definitely the best decision I could have made.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's just that little push of committing to something new that drastic,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, moving to a whole city, now your all your goals list becomes that much more important than just being
Hmm.
like, well, I'll get to these goals, and I've kind of achieved a lot in the in the sphere that I'm in, but now
Yeah.
there's that excitement of the challenge and the growth and all that.
Right. Right, there's a lot riding on it. I mean, if I wouldn't have moved, I don't think that I would be releasing new music right now. I would have
Right.
been still stuck in a mostly like a corporate setting. So, I mean, yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And is it was part of the move so that you could have a more or expand more on your solo career, or is it like a combination of like, I want to do original music, but I also know that there's a bunch of touring opportunities too,
Yeah, so I
or yes.
definitely do want yes to all of it. Yeah. I um I do feel a little bit like split personality in my music career because like this one side, like I really do want to focus on my original music and kind of tailoring that, whatever it's going to be. And then also I do really enjoy like the management side of things too. And I think uh, that suits me well. So but there are a lot of opportunities out here. So I mean, I really right now I'm just a sponge and I'm like taking any opportunity that I can. I'm just excited about any opportunity that's going to come my way. I mean, I love just singing background vocals. I would just love to be on tour just singing background. Like that would just be like a dream come true for anyone. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Well, where did I get cut off? What was I saying?
You were saying, oh, it was about your career, or like your split personality, wanting to be in the management
Yes.
side, but also the performance side.
Do all the things. Yes. Yeah, I mean, and I think you're kind of this way too, where we wear a lot of hats. We like
Yes.
take on a lot of responsibilities, and which is good. We're learning what we're good at and what we can what eventually we can hopefully delegate somewhere else, the things
Right.
that we don't like to do. Um, it's all a learning process, but yeah, I'm just kind of being a sponge and soaking up any knowledge that I can learn, any opportunities that come my way. I just kind of want to do it all and get as many experiences under my belt as I can in different avenues, which in turn help our original careers. So
Yes.
it's all like, it all works together. But yeah, I do definitely enjoy more of the management side of things and helping other artists in any way that I can.
Yeah, because it's like that combination of, you're collaborating with people, but you're also like helping to set a professional standard with like what you've been working on, and you want to, you know help other people get to a certain standard, or you know
Yeah.
just so many, and so many, like, yeah, like you were saying, so many opportunities come from just like trying random music jobs, because I feel like
Yeah.
people forget that, like, music, like, sure, they might see someone on stage, they might see, they might meet someone who, I don't know, is a venue manager or whatever, but there are also like a ton of like misfits in the music scene, like just people who,
Mhm.
there's just a question mark or an asterisk next to their profession, because it's like, yeah, they're a musician, but that was also because they got fired from six other jobs, and now they're here
Mhm.
because they don't have to wake up at 10. They can sleep until 2 p.m. But then there's the people like us, like still having that same a desire to be artistic and creative and perform, but knowing that if we're gonna do it, like, you got to be organized and kind of sharpen all your skills to a point, and
Yeah.
just be ready to like
Yes.
pull rank when needed, or just be like, this is
And
what's
I mean,
happening.
if you yeah, yep, exactly. And if you really want to have a long-term career in this industry, you do have to figure out other other ways besides just performing to actually make money.
Right.
So learning the business side of things is definitely a skill that I want to help other original artists with as well, which of course someone's mowing the lawn now.
Yeah.
Um, which I feel that's one of my favorite parts of my my producer position in BlueWater Kings is being able to help other artists kind of like learn this skill set that they can take with them to their own original music and helping them um, learn like a different level of like professionalism and like even though like being in performing in a corporate world is not for everyone and I completely understand like I totally understand the people the original artists who are like I don't ever want to play in a cover band like don't blah blah blah. I get it, I totally get it, but
Right.
there are some things that can be learned from this world that will really help you in your original world as well. Just learning how to like handle yourself in a professional way and knowing learning like I've helped a lot of artists um, write up contracts and like learning how to do things like how do I ask for more money and like stuff like that. Like I love being able to kind of like be a beacon for others in that way. Like it's not just BlueWater Kings. Like I want to help you grow in other areas and hopefully being on a few wedding gigs in your life can help kind of like form this more well-rounded versatility which you need in order to grow your own original project.
Yeah, there's definitely like something to be said too about artists who, like, you can hear it kind of in how they perform or how they write, when an artist has more experience than just, kind of being in one sphere and then kind of being plucked
Mm-hmm.
and made into a pop star. um
Yeah.
it's like you hear it in people's playing, like, oh, this person's, they've done a million bar gigs to 10 people, they've done, weddings, cocktail gigs, they've played in cover bands, original bands, festival, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can just tell, like, oh yeah, this person's got experience because they put themselves in different uh project opportunities, which
Yeah.
yeah, which I yeah, I always, try to find that balance of the yes and when to take something. Um, but I never, yeah, I haven't limited myself to anything just performance in a while. So it's been nice
Hmm.
to like have
Yeah,
that confidence of like, oh, I can, yeah, I'll jump on a sound gig, or I'll jump on you know,
sure.
I'll make charts for people. I'll do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in learning, I think one that just made me think of learning how to write a set list. Like that is a huge thing that is way more important than people realize. Like knowing kind of like a formula that works to keep people happy. Um, that's a really important skill. And can help you in the way that you even write your original music, or the way, like maybe the way that you order your songs on your album, like coming up with a cohesive whole project rather than just like, "Oh, I wrote this song first and then I wrote this song," and like people like, you want to keep people interested through
Right.
from start to finish. So how do we do that? Well, there is kind of like a formula for that, and you kind of learn that by working in a corporate setting and playing in cover bands. You really get to sharpen that skill. So there's so many things that can be carried over that I think people in BlueWater Kings are very appreciative for and notice. And I've watched artists kind of like blossom just from being in BlueWater Kings. And it's really cool to see. I just love that.
Yeah, and even at like a baseline level too, it's, for like if a young player is able to get into Blue Water Kings uh on their music skill, it's like, okay, you need a certain dress code, that you need a certain,
Hmm.
you need certain
Hmm.
gear, you need certain, like,
Yeah.
and then so it's like, okay, just being involved on a basic level, it gets you thinking about upgrading your rig, upgrading your wardrobe, upgrading, your
Hmm.
gigging experience. Like, oh, maybe now I'll get a
Yeah.
cart with this extra money I'm making, or maybe I'll get, you know
Yeah.
it helps you start to think more like almost like a touring professional, where you have to like
Yeah.
do that triple check before, driving 2.5 hours. It's like, did I bring enough
Yeah.
cables? Do I have extras? Do I,
Uh-huh.
like, all that stuff?
Right. And even just how to carry yourself, how to act in a room full of suit and tie, and how to talk with clients who are paying you a lot of money. Just,
Right.
there's, which are all things that, like, hopefully, like a lot of those clients, I know musicians who have been able to book gigs off of, someone being at the wedding and being like, "Whoa, dude, I love your stuff. I want to follow you on social media or whatever," and then they might hire them for something. So it's like learning how to carry yourself in a certain professional manner is a very, very, very important skill to have.
Yeah, I think of, this was a wedding I got outside of a Blue Water Kings offer, and it was a couple who, they came and saw me play at the listening room, and they were
Hmm.
like, "Oh, we'd love to hire your jazz trio for like some dinner music and like a cocktail hour." And I was like, "Sweet." And then from that, they were like, "And maybe you could help us, just plan the whole music thing. Like, we'd love to have a pianist and a cellist play the ceremony." And then, once that was all kind of agreed on, they went and saw me play, because they started following me, and they saw that I was playing at the listening lawn with Earth Radio, and they came out and saw that, and they were like, "Wow, like this band, like we saw you there and
Yeah.
here." And then now we hired Hannah from it, because they were like, we need
Yes.
to have that singer on our wedding. And I'm like,
Yes,
well, you can.
exactly. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So
A
it's
matter
like,
of fact.
yeah, it's like it totally just turned into And then he showed up. I think he was at the Mark Lavengood show too. He was just following
Sweet,
all the random bands I was playing around town in. uh, but
sweet.
yeah, it's a perfect example of like someone saw me do one thing and then all they had to do was ask, and now their wedding's planned.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trickle down effect. Yeah, I had a couple of clients come to my album release party a couple years
Oh,
ago.
nice. Yeah.
Like that was so cool, and I wasn't expecting it at all. This, they had just randomly emailed me and were like, "Hey Danielle, we'd love to come hear you sing. Like, let us know when is the next opportunity we can come hear you sing." I was like, "Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm releasing an album and I'm having a party for it this weekend," and they just showed up. It was so cool. These
Wow.
are like lifelong relationships that you build with people from these corporate settings.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Like, uh, I I don't get a ton of like repeat, like, oh, it's this person and then this person's brother, and then I happen to play both weddings.
Mm.
But I still see the positive, like the other weekend, even though it got rained out because everything got flooded. We the client was like, he's like, "Oh, you were at so and so's wedding, and I knew I just had to hire you." And I was like, "That's cool, like that other people can vouch for my employment." Like
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
um
Very cool. Love that.
yeah, and you have the uh when you say wearing many hats, I saw the was it Lake Effects, the publishing thing?
Yeah,
Is that like
yeah.
still a baby, or is it like figuring it out
It
as you
it
go?
is it's kind of a baby. Yeah, I mean, so it's a group of us that are writing music kind of like specifically for sync opportunities. So for more commercial opportunities. And that is kind of just like a long game. Like it's
Right.
definitely it's not a short-term game. It's a long game. Um, but yeah, we've got a ton of music out there. It just needs to find its right home.
Right.
So eventually, once we start getting a couple of placements, then it'll be more of a like you got to build relationships with these music supervisors and these publishing companies. Um, so yes, in the long term, I'm hoping that can be more of a financially stable opportunity. Um, but regardless, it's been super fun just writing music with some of the most talented people on the planet, and um, and also has stretched me and pushed me kind of outside of my comfort zone as we're trying to write music in different genres. So, like I'm sharpening those skills too. Like writing for specific niche needs is not something that comes naturally for me. It's something that you have to work for. So that's been really good for me.
Yeah, I can imagine the like. I did some sync stuff with Kevin DePree years ago, um,
Yeah.
and I I liked that the process was very like you had a very clear like goal of like, oh, I
Mhm.
think he wanted like, I think I was there to record like different jazz blues, like, oh, it's different keys, different tempos, different
Mhm.
backbeats, different, and that was a fun challenge to like on the fly have to be like, okay, how well do I really know how to replicate some of these styles?
Yeah.
And yeah, just a good another sharpener of your skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And Kevin is so good. So good at that stuff. And I mean, there's just nothing that Kevin can't do.
Yeah, it's
So
he's proven he
he's
can
a
do a
good
lot.
teacher. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually producing my new original stuff as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good uh, I mean, I'm curious to see like how like moving to California, like what things that will afford him. I mean, I know probably a ton of, can't even quantify what opportunities could happen, but it seems like a good place for someone who like can. It's funny because he plays so many instruments and he can be on stage, he can play whatever, but
Mhm.
then he's also
Yeah.
got this really like, a strong foundation for like the background part of it also, which is
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, and he's just really great at learning whatever he doesn't know already. Like he just picks it up. Whatever you need him to do, he can learn it in a day. It's
Yeah.
kind of it's like pretty annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
Like is there anything that you're not good at? Please just give me one thing.
Yeah, just let me have one thing.
Yes. Can I just be better at you at one thing? No, it's great.
Yeah. What's been a good spot in Nashville now that I don't know how much you've been in now that the city's opened up, but or is it different in Tennessee than Michigan in terms of like COVID lifting and all that?
Yeah, it's been open for quite a while. And I mean, like, downtown has been crazy for it, really never shut down. And
Wow.
even, I mean, yeah, there's so much money down there. Those bars make so much money that getting a citation means nothing to them. So like Kid Rock's bar shut down so many times in the last year for violating how many people that they have in there, and it doesn't matter. Whatever, they shut down for 24 hours and then they open up again and it's packed again, and it doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. I try to avoid downtown as much as possible. Um, my One of my favorite venues is called Third and Lindsley. And that's a good venue that hosts an array of different types of music, typically original music. Um, I One of my favorite bands to see is called the Time Jumpers. Is a band that Vince Gill used to be in. Um, it's a Western swing band, so it's a really cool. It's just a bunch of old dudes that have been around forever, have played with anyone and everyone, and now they have a band together, and they're just so amazing. And it's like jazz, but instead of a horn section, it's a fiddle section. There's three
Oh.
fiddle players, so it's so cool, so fun, and they actually play every Monday night at Third and Lindsley. So I try to go see them every once in a while. That's really fun. Um, I haven't really ventured out too much outside of that yet. I know that there is a place here called the Listening Room that's also a great venue for original music. Um, but yeah, I haven't ventured out too much yet. I need to start putting myself out there a little bit more. I've been like, now that I'm like, oh, oh, the animals are stirring. Now that and now that really there's no excuse to stay home, like I really need to get out there.
Yeah, it's definitely, I know it took me a second to like get used to. I think it was the trip up to the UP I did, in May with the Earth Radio folks. That was the first
Hmm.
time, testing the waters of like, all right, I don't have to wear a mask in this gas station. How does this
Yeah,
feel?
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, there's definitely like, thinking in terms of downtowns, like, back 40 Saloon and the Bob and like all these places are
Ugh,
just
blah.
overflowing the worst people.
Oversaturated. I know. Right, exactly. It's all the people that you don't want to see.
Yeah, it's all the people that regardless of any pandemic you wouldn't want to be around.
Right. Exactly.
It's just,
Exactly.
yeah, and it was almost good that the residencies kind of ended as that started picking up a lot more. So I
Hmm.
didn't have to go downtown as much. Um, yeah, because it's translated into some good things. Like the two shows I did at City Built Brewing, they kind of have a flatbed trailer truck stage that has a simple
Okay.
PA, and it's along the river across from the business, and there's a social zone there now, so people put drinks to go up on the you know at some ordering window, or they
Yeah.
order carry out, and then they can just hang out by the stage with their food and drinks. And I think that's like I feel like a lot of cities did that as like, okay, we'll just let you drink anywhere if you
Right.
come back and spend money here.
Right. Yeah.
um
Yeah. There's definitely a point that I think people get to where it's like, just do what you need to do. And, it's like better to ask for forgiveness than for permission sometimes.
right.
So I think a lot of businesses and restaurants and stuff are kind of getting to that point where it's like, we just, in order for us to survive, like, we got to do this.
Gotta do something. Yeah, we
I
gotta
get
do
it.
something. Oh,
Yeah.
when you mentioned Vince Gill, it reminded me that the other day I found an old music folder from like high school when I was doing I played clarinet in high school band, and uh it was a folder that had Christmas music in it, and then I saw that it was autographed by Vince Gill, and
Oh
I forgot that like we had played some random holiday event. I think it was like a bunch of different high school bands were just playing in the lobby of the Van Andel for some like Christmas event, and or no, it was because Vince Gill and Amy Grant probably, or
my gosh.
um they were doing a concert for the holidays, and the lead up to it was just other parts of the city, like, oh, this high school band or this local band playing Christmas stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't think
That's
this is
funny.
worth a lot more than sentimental, but it's just an interesting
Yeah.
find.
That's funny. That's fun. That's cool. I love Vince Gill. He's
Yeah.
special.
Um,
That's cool.
yeah. Did were you moving to Nashville cold, or was it like you had some friends you could kind of get at? I mean, I guess we both know like Max Brown and some other folks, but and you've done some stuff with him for like the Spread the Music Festival, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did that with me this year. Yeah. Actually, so it's kind of funny. I had actually never met Max Brown until I moved here. We
Oh,
had, I mean, we knew a lot of the same people, but we had never met until I moved here. But yeah, he's been a great resource and is always good about like telling me about opportunities that I need to get involved in and stuff. Um, I actually moved down here with one of my best friends. She lives with me. So we moved together, which that was super great. Like I couldn't imagine moving down here by myself without really anyone. So that was really helpful to be able to have someone. Um, and I have met a few people here and there, and then also Jim Shaneberger,
oh,
um,
right.
who, yeah, so him and his family moved down here a couple years ago, and I'm really close with their family, so I've spent a lot of time with them. Um, but I'm still, by the end of this summer, I'll start having some gigs with the Emerald Empire Band, which is the sister band to BlueWater Kings. So then I'll start to finally like network with other musicians down here. I'm really looking forward to that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of cold. Like I didn't really know a ton of people, a few people here and there, but it was more just like I just got to do it and just figure it out as you go, right?
Right.
Um, yeah. But I've been really lucky, and I've met some really awesome people who have been very helpful. And I actually am working part time as a personal assistant for a music producer. Um,
Oh, nice.
and that is, yeah, that has already opened a lot of doors and will continue to open some more doors and could lead to other more full-time opportunities. So, um, yeah, slowly but surely, it's coming along.
Yeah, it's you can only do so much in general, but yeah, to move during a pandemic, and then like
Yeah,
to have anything, within the first year, that's already probably feeling huge.
right.
Just be able to do
Yeah, and
something.
yeah, and I definitely was enjoying not having to talk to people. And I was really, really enjoying just me and Jacqueline at home and our dog and our cat. Like that was really all I needed to be happy for a long time. And so now it's like, I guess I should dust off the cobwebs and, make some new friends and start being social. But man, it's hard.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I took Monday off, and because I was just feeling really tired, and I was like, why do I feel so like drained? Like I'm not. I mean, I am busy, but I'm not as busy as like pre-pandemic 2020.
Hmm.
And I had to remind myself that's like, oh yeah, I haven't, like, there's the like the gig energy of like, I could be on stage for 3 sets, play, have, pack up, tear down, all the things related to gigging. But it was the social aspect that was super draining, of just forgetting like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is what 100 micro hellos feel like. Just having to like,
Yeah.
hi, hello,
Totally.
hi, hey, hello, hi.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I feel that. I totally get it. Yeah, and I've also realized that, I mean, I think like the busier you are, the better you are at managing your time. So like there is this like threshold of getting back to being busy is like I have forgotten to manage my time appropriately. So even though I'm not as busy as I used to be, it feels like 10 times crazier because it's like I don't know I forgot how to do this. I forgot how to manage my time appropriately and like it's a learning curve.
Yeah, and having to like being able to plan for the future again is a tricky thing to get back onto with, like, I know with Earth Radio, like we're gonna have a very sparse fall in terms of shows, and we're really trying to work on having 2022 kind of look like our year in 2019, where I think we were doing like at least 3 shows a weekend. Um, like a
Wow.
Thursday through a Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, double header,
Yeah.
or, some kind of like
Yeah.
just doing like a ton of shows, and having that, you know, really kind of feel like progress. Just like, oh, we're at all these festivals, we're
Yeah.
playing all these shows. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's weird how, like, I know for me it was like checking my emails, a thing that was still, like, I'm still getting more comfortable with it. Um,
Mhm.
going from like checking it obsessively to like forgetting I didn't check it in a week. Like,
Right.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, why is email like one of the most stressful things? I feel very stressed about my email too. It's such a weird thing.
And it's like, for me it's like partially because I have so many accounts. Like, I just have, I have like a personal email, my personal business email, Earth Radio's email. When Crooked Tree was
Yeah.
trying to do stuff, it was like that email. And then
Yep.
I made emails for Blushing Monk, and when I was working with August, and then those were like, okay, they're not using those, so I'll just, have those emails send to my business one, and now I'm just getting, 3 different inboxes all sent to one
Oh my
inbox.
goodness.
Just
Overwhelming.
so many. And then most of them are like,
Overwhelming.
a combination of like it's a Groupon for something I'm not going to use, and then a Sweetwater
Yeah,
ad,
I
and
know.
then
Mm-hmm.
just so many emails about
Definitely.
little things. Um, but there is a little part of me that's it's nice to have a a a busy schedule again, but also I like that I'm doing a busy schedule, but really trying to focus on having the right kind of busy schedule and not the constantly reactive busy schedule of
Yeah,
just
a good balance.
yeah, just being able to be like, yeah, like Monday, like I could feel comfortable taking a day off if I'm like I literally like left to try to go to Third Coast, and my brain was just like, you don't want to do this. This is not. You're tired. You've had these crazy
Yeah.
gigs the last few days, and just sleep, get some sleep. um, because yeah, if
Yeah.
anything, last year also proved that I will do work in the absence of my industry. I will continue to do work
Mm,
even if there is nothing
wow.
happening in the industry. So it's like
Yeah.
working's the easier part now. It's like the life balance is the thing to work on.
Totally. I totally get that. I feel that 1,000%. It's still, I think it's still gonna take some time for people to find the right balance. But I'm glad that people are starting to. I'm really
Yes.
glad that that we have all started to pay more attention to mental health, and that's now more important than ever in like the work industry, in the workforce, and um, just like companies like Mitten Brewing, I don't know if you know, but one of their newest beers that they've launched, the proceeds are paying for they're offering mental health counseling for all of their employees from the proceeds of this beer. Like that,
Wow.
like more companies need to be doing that. Like that is so huge, so cool. Like they've partnered with these other companies. I don't know if they've partnered with like a counseling center or something, but like that is just amazing. And like I hope that that is setting the new standard. I hope that more companies are going to see that kind of thing and are going to follow suit, because we need that. We need a lot more of that.
Yeah. Or I even think of like Isan, he just did my sticker artwork for this month, but he also made some uh art designs on shirts, and they coincide with the artwork he did for um was it Ginger Smiles, I think is the name of the beer. The founders partnered with
Okay.
Isan to make like a beer with custom artwork and custom merch that he's able to
That's so
sell.
cool.
Um, yeah, it's like uh, who else was doing? I hear a lot about Mitten Brewing just being a cool business, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
some of their posts
They're
during
amazing.
peak pandemic stress, and it was like, oh, these guys understand that they have
Yeah.
human beings that work for them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're great. They're super great. Love
Yeah,
them.
and it's well, and it was also a reminder too of like it's like the things that I like about certain businesses, how they conduct themselves. It's like, oh, I could just apply that to my life. Like, why am I not budgeting for certain things that would be beneficial
Right.
like that?
Right.
Um, and that's well,
Yeah. Just talking about it and the awareness has been beneficial for everyone.
yeah. And I've been telling people about. Well, now I'm for sure sold out massages. That's a new thing that I was just
Yes.
really
The,
like want to commit to. If I could get to weekly, like that's the goal. Um, and
woo, do it.
and then I've been telling a lot more people about those like sensory deprivation tank sessions.
Oh. Have you
The
done one?
Yeah, I've done them. I started in October was my first one. It's at this spot in Easttown called Float. um,
Sweet.
and it's just super. It like I could see if you're like claustrophobic, it might be a trip, but uh,
Yeah.
it's not that. Like I can in the tank, I can almost stand up in it, and
Okay.
the water's not deep enough. Like it's just deep enough where you could float, but not enough where you feel like you need to tread water or something.
Right, right, right.
um, yeah, because most
Cool.
people are like, what's the point of sitting in a dark chamber? I'm like, it's a paid excuse to just not care about the world for a second and,
Yeah.
and just breathe
Ah,
and
yes.
relax and melt. um,
Yes, we all need to just melt for a little
yeah,
bit.
all the it just melt into a. Although I'm seeing I mean, I don't know how hot it is in Nashville right now, but I've been seeing like it's some of the outdoor gigs that I've been doing. Um, I guess the rain has helped aside from where it flooded that one gig, but the other uh uh the other day having a wedding outdoors where it was like just rainy enough, it was still really humid, and I'm just like I'm like, oh yeah, this is another thing I forgot about gigging when you're hauling equipment in hot sun, just hoping it'll go away.
Sticky weather. Uh, yeah. No, it's miserably hot here. It is very hot.
Yeah, I I'm I'm hopeful that the heat. I know this doesn't correlate, but in my head, I'm like, oh, the heat now means that maybe it'll be a warmer fall, and that'll be great for when we have some outdoor gigs in the fall.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, just um,
Yeah.
yeah. So are you when you're? I guess I should have brought this up when we were talking about Kevin, but when you were working on new music with him, has that been like? Have you done any in-person sessions, like flown out there for a chunk, or has it all been like just diligent remote work from home or something?
So it's been mostly remote for my original stuff. I did fly out to LA in November, and we did work on some sync stuff, some other stuff, but we weren't working on my original stuff then. Um, yeah, it's been all remote for all my original stuff right now, which is going really well, all things considered. And I'm really like grateful that we're able to do that. Um, Definitely in the future, like there will be times where I, I will just it's got to be in person for me. But the songs that I'm releasing this summer were mostly kind of like mostly just like definitely primarily piano and vocals, which I can do myself. So that it's worked well for the songs that I have right now. It's worked out really well. And then one of my songs has strings on it, which this chick out in LA did, and it's so amazing. She plays for the Vitamin String Quartet,
Oh,
and
okay.
she wrote and performed these string parts for my song. It's just like out of this world amazing. Um, and I had another friend out in LA do bass and guitar for one of my songs. But then other than that, it's been all just me and Kevin doing everything.
Nice. Yeah, it's probably good to
Yeah,
just to also have that experience too, because it doesn't necessarily set a trend of like, oh, I'm always going to be recording remote, but it's probably great to just have like I feel like just making demos and being able to have like real time feedback from like other people and not feel like, well, I'm just recording this
yeah,
for me and hopefully it sounds good. And
yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to go out there again.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't been to LA since 2014 and I really want to go again. Um and figure out I want to it's like a combination of wanting to see some of the people I met when I was out there, all those years ago for Ralph Alessi's what was it, the School of Improv or whatever, improvised music.
Oh, cool.
Uh, it was like
Cool.
it ended up being like a free jazz intensive where it was focusing on using free jazz as a communication tool rather than just this nebulous like play whatever you want and who cares. It was more like
Yeah.
it was like you could use it as a transitional thing, you could use it as a textural thing, you could use it as a an interactive improv thing, you can and
Mhm.
yeah. um but yeah, it's like some of those people. And I think of like I had Logan Kane and Paul Cornish uh, uh played a show with them at Hugo's place, and um
Cool.
they're both in a band, Thumpasaurus, and it's full of a lot of like LA jazzer types that made a kind of like a it's like a Talking Heads Devo kind of modern rock funk art band. and
Woo.
and it's just it's like goofy on the surface, but then it's like all the people involved are like, oh, the keyboard player went to the Monk Institute, the bass player plays with David Binney and like all these Lewis Cole and all these jazz adjacent
Yeah,
people. And but yeah, they're just like a goofy funk Devo
that's
looking
funny.
band.
Cool.
But yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait to get back out to LA when it's back to normal and I can actually experience the full experience.
yeah, I remember just going to see a show at the Piano Bar. The West Coast Get Down has well, I assume they'd still have it, but they have a residency on Wednesdays, and the West Coast Get Down is kind of it's basically like another name for like the people involved in Kamasi Washington's band. So it's
Okay.
like some nights are like, oh, you could see Thundercat and his brother on drums, and you know, Brandon Coleman who plays keys,
Yeah.
and then other times you'll get like, I think the night we went, it was like the horn players who play with Kamasi minus Kamasi, and then uh, Carlito Del Porto who plays, he's recorded with Latin Grammy winners and Chick Corea and all these people.
Heck yeah.
um,
Sweet.
but yeah, it was just that thing of like, oh, this is just somebody's like spot, like this is down the block from somebody's house and they're just here drinking, like, oh, it's got live music, and meanwhile I'm here like freaking out about it's like, do you
Right,
know who's
right.
in this
Yeah.
bandstand?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. And
uh,
Nashville's a lot like that too, which is really cool.
just have you seen who do I keep seeing on my feed? Daniel Donato, the cosmic country guitar player.
Oh, no, I haven't. I know who you're talking about. I haven't seen him live. No.
Yeah,
Like I said, I don't get out much, but
you've seen all
I
these
need
people.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um uh but yeah, it's I don't know, it's cool like seeing people like yourself move into a new spot and like take that chance. Well,
Yeah.
and it's like not even, it's funny because it's like, I imagine some people are like, oh, she's gonna go do it, she's gonna follow a dream, and meanwhile you're like, I actually have experience and a plan, and it's like people I work
Right,
with
right, right, right.
already. And yeah, and
Yeah. And
I,
it's like, we don't know what the dream is yet.
right. yeah, who knows what you'll be doing in 10 years. That's always been the funny part about like people who ask creative types like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it's like, I don't know. Anything could happen in five
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to continue to do different things. I mean, it's not just like, I didn't like move out here to become like a famous country singer.
Right.
Like that's kind of like what people assume is country is like the bottom of my list when it comes to genres that I want to be singing.
Right.
Um, but there's that's not all Nashville is. Like it's Music City of the country, like at like all the studios, all of the genres, all of the things, all the touring agencies, like this is a hub for all of it. And so if you really want to get involved, you really got to move to a hub.
Right.
So that's kind of just what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's so funny thinking like, I think of like Evan Taylor, who he's in Miami now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he just posted a video about collaborating with like I don't know who was leading. He tagged people who were leading the project, and I forgot to look them up. But the song had like, you know, it was one of those where it's like it's a remote collab, and there's opportunity to like, oh, it's a crazy melody. We'll have horns, synth, guitar, like bass, all doing this crazy head or something. And it had Justin Lee Schultz and uh,
Oh
what's
my
her
God,
name?
yeah.
Mohini Day, the Indian bass player, who's, I mean,
Oh, sweet.
yeah, she's like one of those that you listen to her play and you're like, oh, that's her culture. And then she also listened to fusion, and then she also like developed her own cool things about the bass. Um, but I just thought it was interesting that Evan got on it, because you'd think like, like, oh, Justin Lee Schultz, like he's in Michigan. Like, I bet that's how the connect happened. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, nope, there's just people who know people in a chain of people. And some people
Yeah,
probably asked. And it's just these moments of like being asked, and you're already prepared to do it, and you just do it. And just keep getting more contacts in a place that you
exactly.
barely know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about who you know. It really is. And like you just said, like you meet people and then they introduce you to people and then it comes full circle and you meet people from your hometown,
Yeah.
you know?
And you're like, how long have you been here? It's like,
That's
oh, I've been here
crazy.
10
Yeah,
years. What?
right. Yeah. Keep talking. I'm just letting my dog out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's I like the I don't know, the camaraderie that comes from like knowing a bunch of people in a lot of different cities. And it's like it's the type of friend that is like, you can hit them up to chat, but you also know that um there's like a mutual support, like, oh, I support you hustling out there in New York, and I know you're supporting what I'm
Hmm.
doing in West Michigan. Like, it helps feel like, yeah, there's obviously being in a city center is the best option to like
Yeah.
experience how that feels. But it is nice to see the music community becoming like more like willing to collaborate across, you know
Yeah.
countries. And like,
More widespread. Yeah.
yeah, it's cool to see what, like, you get on a, I think of like Eddie Codrington. He just got on a plane to go to, or maybe he drove, I don't know, he went to New York, or he's in New York right now. And he posted on his story, is like, first photo shoot day, hope these turn out well. And then the name on the reel is Emmanuel Wilkins. And I'm like, he's like Blue Note's like darling right now. It's like him and Braxton Cook
Crazy.
are like the two, sides of the jazz coin for young artists. And it's like, that's cool
Yeah.
that you're the thing you did
Super cool.
in Kalamazoo, like that translated to, an opportunity just going into a city and cold calling someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I'm excited to see. I don't know. Going forward, now that things opening back up, seeing people like getting back on the road, getting back in studios, back
Mm-hmm.
at all these ideas that have been pent up, collaborations waiting to happen. It's all gonna happen.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. We're on the right track.
On the right track. Well, yeah, this has been really fun. And I feel like
Yes,
I
it's
need to
been great.
I feel like I need to come visit you and see the city.
You do, yes, absolutely. Anytime. And bring the whole band.
Yeah, just Earth Radio band trip.
Yes, do it. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Love that.
So where should people find you on like all your music, all your socials, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find my music on all the things, all the major streaming platforms. Danielle Cosby. I did successfully change my artist name from Danielle to Danielle Cosby this year.
There you go.
At least I think successfully. On most platforms, it's switched over. And Instagram and Facebook, Danielle.songstress. I actually am my website is being built right now and will be launching probably in the next week or two. So that'll be DanielleCosby.com. So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for carving out time and coming on the podcast and all that.
Yeah, it's been great. It was great catching up with you, and this is perfect timing for my single Better People, which is coming out on July 11th.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah, so that's coming up soon.
I know. Yeah, so everybody, pre-save. Go listen on July 11th.
Go do it.
Yeah, do it. Do the thing.
Yeah.
Help a girl out.
Support an artist.
Yeah.
A new city.